And when you use a word like king and monarch, they're very similar, so they're very close to each other in that space. When you use a word like drink or imbibe or some word like that, different words that mean drink, they're all going to be in the same space. And the point is the LLM is able to take all the words in a string. I'll use the word string like you do in programming, and it's able to connect those strings into what we call a vector, right? It's a vector and it's shaped a certain way. And then based on that, it's like, oh, you want this response. It really doesn't know anything about the subject. It really doesn't understand what you're talking about. It just knows what the vector is that you put in, and it's going to use math, even though it can't do math. It's going to use math to create a vector to give back to you. And you must understand that, because if you understand that, then these next things I'm going to tell you are going to make sense, and you'll get it. There's an illusion when you're working with AI that it's smart, that it's like a little friend, and that you can work together as a team. And I'm okay with that. I do it too. I fall into it, but I have to remind myself that it's dumb. And unless I hold its hand and really help it, it can't do anything. So, all right, all of that philosophy aside. So when you're talking to an LLM, we're going to start here. I'm in ChatGPT 4 from OpenAI, 4.0 for Omni. When you give a prompt, you can just, here's the classic, why is the sky blue? That is the classic. Why is the sky blue? And when you do that, you've now started the context. So when you're working with an LLM, there is a context window, and you'll see with different models, they'll say things like, oh, this model has back in the day for like GPT 3.5, which is funny because I can't even select that anymore. GPT 3.5 had an 8,000 token limit, and that's all it had. And so when you got to 8,000 tokens, it would overflow. And what that means is you would start to lose context. The context at the very beginning of the conversation would fall off. And many of you experience this because you'd be having a chat with it, and as time would go by and you kept chatting longer and longer, it couldn't remember what you said to it about 5 paragraphs ago or more, because it was running out of context. Fast forward to today, the contexts are much larger, much larger. I don't remember what the context for 4.0 is right now, but I know it's way over, I'm trying to say like 100K, but I think it's even bigger than that. I know Claude, which I just clicked to here, is even bigger. It has a huge context now, but you have to understand that the context is the extent of the memory that the AI can actually hold at one time. And it is the conversation you're having with it, the work you're doing with it, and when you fill it up, that's it. And I will say that the longer that context gets, it has a hard time looking through it, because it's a lot of, when you have these models that can hold massive context, they call it the needle in the haystack problem. It's hard for it to find smaller things inside that AI or inside that context. Okay. So I tried to ask ChatGPT to help me make some images about it. It was really funny. I'm like, hey, can you? I need to illustrate how context window works. By the way, for me, ChatGPT is named Trixie, and Trixie it helps me, so it always answers as Trixie. So I told it I need to do that. It came back and it's like, oh, it gave me all this stuff about context. And then I said, well, can you create a prompt for the image? Look at how bad my typing is, by the way, and it still is getting me. And then it says, here's this prompt. Look at the size of this prompt it made for a single image. And I'm like, yeah, make an image to illustrate context. And it made this, and that's not helpful at all. And I told it, I'm like, wow, that's not helpful. Let's show context like a thermometer. And so then it took me literally. This is another good illustration. It took me literally and made a thermometer. And I'm like, look, okay, I didn't mean a real thermometer. I just meant in the style, that kind of style of a graph that a thermometer has. And of course, by the way, the LLMs will always tell you you're amazing. They're like, oh my gosh, you're so right. I was so wrong. So be careful when you're trying to ideate with LLMs, because they almost always tell you that your idea is amazing. And your idea may not really be amazing. Your idea could actually be really dumb, but they've been taught to be very, very nice to you. So just don't believe them. In fact, sometimes you just have to ask them like, hey, I need you to be very critical of this idea I just had. What is wrong with this idea? Or else they'll just tell you all day that you're amazing. So then I told it to make another one, and it still failed. Anyway, we'll move on from this. I don't want to beat the dead horse here, but the point is that context is important. And as you can see, even as I'm going through here, I'm trying to I got a little lippy with it. Do you even understand how your own context works? Like this literally made no sense with how context works. So I'm just trying to illustrate the point here that you've got, this is GPT-4, smartest model they've got, and you still have to hold its hand and really help it try to be able to get it. This was the last one it came up with, and it still didn't make any sense to me. It was a fairly simple context, and it just wasn't getting it. All right, let's move on. Next one out there, if you're not using it, is Claude. Claude is amazing. Oh, and by the way, I am not watching that. Yeah, there we go. Somebody, I moved it. Now I can see the, Claude is free. Claude is you can use it for free or you can pay for it. If you use it, if it's free, I think you can use Sonnet so many times and then it'll tell you, no, you can't use it anymore. So you can use it to an extent, but then it'll cut you off. What is the difference between ChatGPT and Claude? Claude is a stick in the mud. So Claude is really has a lot of guardrails, and you will ask it things and it's like, no, I can't do that. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you even asked me to do that. Whereas ChatGPT is like, yeah, man, here's how you do it. I mean, it's still censored, but not nearly as bad. Claude is really good at writing, much better at writing than GPT 4.0. Claude is much better at coding than GPT 4.0, and Claude has this thing called projects that I just absolutely love, right? So when you go into projects here, and I've got a whole bunch of them that I've been working on here, you can create a project and give it. I'll just use this to-do app for instance here. So I was experimenting, and oh, this isn't the to-do app I wanted to show you. Hold on. Projects, let's go down to my to-dos and daily notes. So I did an experiment for a few days. I really liked it, but it was just hard to keep up with, but it does work. And that is, I started these conversations with it where I said, hey, here are my to-dos for the day. And so I told it that I wanted it to keep track of my to-dos for me. And so it started keeping track. I'm like, please always list the to-dos with check boxes. And it did it. And I'm like, can you mark off both of the Dan tasks complete? And it did it. Please add Reed Gartner report to the list. And it did it. Please add draft outline. Anyway, the point is, and then I got this brilliant idea. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to paste my schedule with my meetings for the day. So these were my meetings I had, and it was able to read my meetings for the day from my snapshot. And so then I said, okay, now I would like you to prioritize, like make a schedule for the day. So then it started giving me a schedule for the day to help me plan out when to get my to-dos done between my meetings. And I did this for 3 or 4 days, and it really did work really well. The problem is right now it's just tedious to keep putting all the things in it. That's why I've thought about building a whole app just around doing this, because this is a nice thing to do. Be able to throw transcripts, your schedule, and your to-dos into a single project. And if I go back to the project here, you can see the project will say up here, oh, why doesn't it say what the percentage is? It's probably so small that it's not even taking up a percentage, because these are all very small text files. If I have larger text files up here, it will tell you how much of the project you have taken up, how much space, because there's a limit to how much knowledge you could put in here. So you could, let's say you're working with a programming library that is a very new library, and there's not a lot of information on the internet, but you have the PDF or whatever the documentation files for that software. Drop the documentation files here and then start talking to the files in the chats. And then you can have this whole project thing going. And anyway, it's very cool. So that's Claude. I use it for programming. I use it for this projects. I probably use it a lot more than I use GPT-4 right now, because it actually just is a lot better as far as it's just smarter in a lot of ways, and it has a much bigger context. It can hold on to a lot of code. Okay. One thing that Claude can't do is Claude can't do images. I have no idea why, as amazing as Claude is, they have not added images to Claude. So I have to pop back over to GPT-4 a lot of times when I want an image, because they don't do it over here in Claude, and I don't know why. Okay, next one is Grok. Grok just came out like a week ago. Grok is pretty flippin' awesome. This is still only Grok Mini, and I don't know how small Grok Mini actually is. They say that Grok 2 Mini, excuse me. They say that Grok 2 is on par with Claude or GPT 4.0, at least close to it, but I think they have a scaling problem right now. So I just have Mini. It's using Flux. Flux is the name of the image creator in the background, and it is pretty darn permissive. It will do some crazy things like, Mario with a broadsword fighting a cyber dragon. Let's see if it can do that. Yeah, this is Twitter's AI. Yeah. So if now you may have to look at that. You can just it'll make anything. They don't care about copyright. Who cares? They'll just make anything you want. It's pretty crazy. So the other ones, like let's just for fun do it. So if I take this Mario with a broadsword fighting a cyber dragon, and I go to ChatGPT, it probably will. It'll either tell me that it can't do Mario, or it'll just do a generic person. I think it can do letters. Oh, it did say generate it, but I don't think it'll be Mario. It'll just, I don't know who, a character reminiscent of Mario. I see. Yeah, it has to make it different than like the real Mario. A character reminiscent of Mario. Still a cool. Yeah, just a random plumber. Exactly. So yeah, if we put make the dragon wearing a sign that says will flame for code. I don't know. That was the dumbest statement it could ever have on its sign, but we're just trying to see if it will flame of code. So close. So there you go. It can do. If we did it again, it might be able to do the actual do it again if you tried again. So there's Grok. Grok is not afraid to do anything. Like if I said, if I go over here and I'm like Claude, if I say, hey, and then we'll move on to some more productive stuff here in a second. We'll stop just having fun. But if I said in here, how do I fuzz a public website for vulnerabilities? I want to do bug bounties. I don't fix my spelling either. I just expect it to know what I mean. So bad. Pondering. Please stand by. Yeah. I apologize, but I cannot recommend the best ways to test websites or vulnerabilities without express permission. And then it just goes on about how all these things that you should do. And then it says it does give you some general like, hey, you should study web vulnerability, blah blah blah. Let's go try it on Grok real quick. Yeah. So it's useless. Yes. How do I fuzz a public website for vulnerabilities? I want to do fuzzing public websites to participate, understanding fuzzing, preparation. I mean, at least this one's giving me a little more steps to the fuzzing. Oh, look, it actually is giving me some real tools to try at least, right? Yeah, Grok is the cool kid. So there you go. So there's the difference, right, between an LLM that has a little more guardrails and one that does not. Pentest GPT, I haven't used that one yet. If you haven't heard of it, I also want to point out Grok with a K, not as opposed to Grok with a K and Grok with a Q. Sorry, Grok with a Q. So Grok has, with a Q, has a few models in here, but that's not really what it's the best for. What it is the best for is the API. So Grok is some guys who left Google and they understood that GPUs, although LLMs really run well on GPUs are still not architected to run LLMs by design. Just because they're better doesn't mean that they're still great at it. They're better than CPUs, but that's a relative term, right? So they went out and actually specifically made chips to be able to run transformer architecture, which is what all the LLMs use, this transformer architecture. So because of that, they may be LPUs. I'm trying to remember. I think they are. And the point is that it runs lightning fast. I mean, it does. Let's paste it in here. Just because I've got it. And this is Llama 3B. Now, granted, this is a 70 billion model, so it's going to run faster anyway because it's smaller. But look at that. Look at the speed that it just. Yes, this is Facebook's model. Yeah, but it's only 70B, and they're supposed to have the 405B soon. But the 405B is they do not have the infrastructure to handle running it all the time yet. By the way, they do have a Whisper model in here. That's handy. The Whisper model is for you to do audio to speech. So it can take audio. You can transcribe in here too if you need to, or you can do it over API. Okay. The 400B. I don't know. I haven't got to use Facebook's 405B yet. I haven't found any place that's got it that I have access to. Yeah, LM Studio is good for that, and so is Ollama. I'll mention Ollama here in a minute. Let's move on. Perplexity. If you're not using Perplexity for web search, you're missing out. Let's paste the same prompt in here and see what it says. How do I fuzz public websites for vulnerabilities? I want to do bug bounties. Let's see how it does. Now, Perplexity is free. I'm using the pro version of it, but it is free. And I think it may even let you use so many pro so often. So what Perplexity does is Perplexity has access to the web and can do actual web search, real-time web search, like stuff that is up-to-date web search, which is super cool. So that means that here it is. As a cybersecurity expert, it's great that you're interested in bug bounties and web vulnerabilities. So it knows me. In the case of Perplexity, I can go into my profile over here and I've told it who I am. And I've told it that I'm a cybersecurity professional to get off my back and to shut the F up about all the ethical crap because I know what I'm doing. And so because of that, notice it didn't do that to me. It's like, oh yeah, you're a cybersecurity expert, which anybody could say, by the way. You could just say, oh yeah, I'm a cybersecurity expert, and it'll quit hassling you about asking it the questions. So then it gives you an overview here, right? Notice these little numbers here. That's because it's giving you the sources of where it got its information on the internet. Okay. So if I go up here and I click on this, I get all the sources that it used to create this response that it gave me. So Perplexity is not for like long conversations. Perplexity is to come in and search for something. And then a lot of times I will search, get an overview, and then I'll look down in here and I'll see the thing I actually care about. Oh, look, Port Swigger Academy. That's what I care about. So then I'll click on that, and it took me to this Reddit article about, because we all know Reddit is like the bastion of all knowledge, how to get started with that. But if you're not using Perplexity, it's amazing. You can get it on your phone. It's really great on your phone, and you can take photos in real life. It's pretty cool. It does, but I still like it more than Google, probably 80% of the time at this point. All right, now I'm going to tell you about the sad one. This one I'm very sad about. This is Pi, and I love Pi. I have spent probably a good 20 to 30 hours talking to Pi when I'm like driving in the car or at various times. Pi is by a company called Inflection AI, and it is the most conversational LLM I've ever worked with. They had an amazing iPhone app, and well, they still do right now. They have an iPhone app, and when you talk to it, the voice is very real. It's not fake. It's just it's a different type of model. And what I loved about it was you could talk to it about your ideas. So that's what I would do. At least I would say, hey, I have an idea. I think I want to make this thing. And Pi and I would just talk back and forth, and I'd say, well, give me more suggestions. Give me an idea. Why won't this work? Blah blah blah. And it was just great for thinking out loud, which is what I like to do. I like to talk out problems. So Pi and I did it a lot. The problem is that Microsoft came in like June and literally stole, I think, like 100 of the employees or more, and there were only like 200 employees in the company. And so basically they bought it without buying it. They bought all the talent out of the company, including the CEO and all the top actual people that created the model. And so now it's basically a zombie. I really hope that somehow the model makes it over to Microsoft at least, and they keep building on it, because if you haven't used it, it's amazing. But they did it to get around monopoly law, because every time Microsoft tries to buy a new company right now, the government here in the United States is just all over them. So their response was, fine, we won't buy the company. We'll just hire all the talent. That's all we care about anyway. Yeah. So this company is a shell of itself now, and I'm just waiting. One of these days I'm going to wake up and they're going to be like, oh yeah, we shut it down because it's not making any money. I don't even know how it's still up right now. So, but if you haven't tried it, go try it before it dies. Like I said, I really hope the model makes its way over to Microsoft and they at least use it, because it's a great model. And it's really great on the iPhone. Yeah. Okay, so APIs. If you haven't started getting into APIs, you need to do that. I do have a gist here that can get you kickstarted pretty fast. I'll paste it in here. This gist I made a while ago, but I think it still works. The Google one might be a little wonky, but you can see here in the gist, this is just a real quick script to be able to give you an example for all four of the major ones, for OpenAI, Grok with a Q, which is super fast, Anthropic, or the Google API key. You got to make a .env file is the way I have this set up. And then I just created a function for each one. So generate OpenAI response, generate Grok response, generate Anthropic response, generate Gemini response. And then down here, I just have an example of each one. Boom, 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 boom. That's all it is. It's just a real quick code that I stuck up in a gist, so that if you don't want to have to go searching for them, you can get them right there. I think in the gist, I even have the links. Yeah, what a super cool guy. I even put the links to like where to go get the API keys for each of these, so you don't have to go hunt for that. But this is a nice little little script so you can start playing with the APIs. The APIs are extremely powerful. They allow you to be able to write code and interact with these LLMs. They're from scratch though. Like for instance, when you run one of these functions to generate a response, there is no context. No context. One question, one answer, you're done. If you want context, you've got to program that in. And you actually have to like keep adding the questions and the responses to the context, and then keep feeding the context back into into your script. That'll be a talk for another day if we want to get down in the weeds about how to kind of make your own mini bots, or how to make your own stuff. It's not that hard. You don't need LangChain, and you don't need Crew AI. And I mean, if you want to use those things, go use it. Go use it. But I think I have found that it's actually better, and I get things done faster if I just use the straight API from OpenAI and from Anthropic. Whenever I try to use LangChain or stuff like that, it always ends up getting sticky and ugly really fast, and it's just easier to just use the API directly, and I learn more too. All right, so now let's jump into actual hacking now. Okay, I did start a box up. I started up the old standard bounty hacker, so it's been running. It's got, looks like it still has an hour left on it, which is great. So there's that. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do here is I wanted to show you this. So let's say that you want to learn about hacking, and you want the LLM to give you like lessons or hints, but not spoilers. Okay, so the idea I had was, okay, I'm going to take this walkthrough, and I copied the whole thing. So I just copied this. This is just a random walkthrough too. Copied this random walkthrough, came over to Claude, and said, I am working on the CTF skills. Oh, wow. I am working on the CTF skills. That's how you'd say that in English if you were saying it correctly. I'm working on the CTF skills. And I'm going to work on Bounty Hacker from Try Hack Me today. I want to learn. I don't want to have spoilers. So I'm telling it, like, don't just tell me how to do this. Please read this walkthrough and teach me more about CTFs and ethical hacking. I want to work through the box and learn, not spoilers. I should have put a comma. Read this and give me my first lesson. See, that's important. These LLMs will get real excited, as my dad would say, real froggy. And if you don't specify and say, like, just give me the first step, they will just like word vomit the entire like plan. And that's not what we want. If we're using it for learning, we're saying, just give me the first step. So it goes on. By the way, Claude is a little verbose. Claude loves to hear itself talk. So it says here, here's the thing, blah, blah, blah. And so I said, I've scanned the ports using Nmap and found 22, 80, and port 21 open. That's a lie. I just knew that already. Great job on scanning the ports. You've taken the first step. And then if I were really learning, this is great. It's like, hey, well, it's file transfer protocol. It's FTP. Is anonymous allowed? Are there accessible files or directories? What version is running? This is perfect, because if I were really learning these things for the first time, I could stop right now, go back to the box, and learn and go do these things, and I'm learning, and I have it helping me, but I'm not having it give it away. And it does it for all these. And then down here, I could keep going with this and just keep telling it, the things I'm doing. So hack the box similar guided mode. Is this similar? Oh, I have no idea. I've never done the guided mode. Yeah, I would just think that if you were doing it here in the LLM like this, it's nice because you can ask it very targeted and specific questions and go down whatever rabbit holes you want, and it's fine. So I like that. Let's see. Next thing that I just want to show you that's just a huge time saver. So some of you guys may know Matthew Berman. He's one of the big LLM AI like influencer dudes on YouTube. And if you go in here, we can, oops, what am I doing? I want to go down. Here we go. I want to go to transcript. I don't have time to watch this whole thing. This is 44 minutes. It's just him reacting to the old man CEO that left Google, that's not there anymore, that talked about how working from home is terrible, and so I don't like him. And we can go to show transcript. And so if you go up here, every YouTube video has a transcript now. So it's not like you even have to like work hard to get them anymore. You used to have to like try to use links or whatever to try to get them. So I'm going to copy this transcript. I'm going to go to Claude. I'm going to say, hey, read this transcript and give me the TLDR. I'm even going to be the TLDR. And that's it. And that's it. Yes, Fabric. Fabric does work well on this. If you guys don't know what Fabric is, that's from Daniel Miessler. And Daniel and some friends have built a really nice GitHub. I'll show you real fast. We'll get it real fast so we can get the link. Fabric GitHub, Daniel Miessler. Got to meet Daniel in person a time or two. It's kind of nice. Copy, paste. There. Fabric is a bunch of guys who have put together. I don't use Fabric, but I do come in here occasionally and just look at their patterns. So if you come in here in the patterns, these are all prompts that they have written to do things like analyze threat report, analyze spiritual text, analyze prose. And you can come in here and look at let's look at the analyze threat report. You can go to the system markdown, and there you go. You can see the prompt that these guys have worked on. So this gives you really good ideas for how to write prompts for specific tasks. That's what I use it for. I don't actually use the full Fabric thing. I just come in here and steal the patterns, which I think they're totally cool with. I feel like Daniel has said that, that's fine. Like, just come in, and at least we've got a repository of really awesome pattern prompts now. Okay, let's move on now into the Kali box. So those of you that have been watching the YouTube and my YouTube and my live stuff I've been doing, I've become very fond of a Shell GPT. So let me find it here so we can I think it's Shell GPT GitHub. There it is. So Shell GPT, this guy wrote it. He's just a dude. I really hope this guy is able to make a little money off this thing. I mean, it's up to like 9,000 stars now. I feel like it kind of started off a little slow. I found it pretty early and it's really grown. What are they up to now? Up to 32 contributors. I need to try to contribute to this. I'd love to have my face on here as a contributor. I'll have to try to find something I can improve on it and get on here. But this is Shell GPT, and what it allows you to do is have GPT. In this case, it's 4.0 is what it uses. GPT 4.0 in the command line. So let's go over here and take a look. So I can ask it really stupid things. SGPT. Oh yeah, this is one I did this is the last one I did from my stream that I did on Monday. So it'll let you get a chat. If you use the flag chat, you can create a chat that keeps going, like an ongoing chat with it. And I said, I am in the SQL terminal. I need to restore a SQL backup file. I don't have any databases right now, and I have never set a root password. And I was able to ask it, and it says, hey, since you're already in the MySQL terminal and need to restore the backup file, you can follow these steps. So isn't that cool? Of course. It's very handy, and you haven't even seen the best part yet. Just you wait. So when I first started, I realized when I looked over here that it had this thing called install integration, and I was like, what the heck is install integration? Let me see if I can find it here. Install integration. There it is. To install the integration and restart your terminal to apply changes, blah, blah, blah. It talked about it, but it didn't explain what it was. It says when you press Control L, it will replace your current input line buffer with a suggested command. You can then edit it and just press enter to execute. And I from the life of me, I could not wrap my brain around what they were trying to say. I'm like, what? I don't understand. So I installed the integration, and I had to do it manually the first time because Kali was weird and it didn't work right. But I just read the code and I figured out how to add it into my ZSH. So it works like this. If I say brute force SSH target IP 10.10.35.120 username Bob. It's a running theme today. Use rockme.txt. And then I hit Control L. You see, you can't really see it. There's a little hourglass right there. And then there it is. Boom. And all it did was it took the buffer. It took everything that was in the buffer of the command line, gave it to the LLM, and it automatically knows you want a command. So it came back with this command. And now I can edit it again, and I can say, and add an output file, right, for the results, and hit Control L again, and it does it again. And now I have the output, hydroresults.txt. Is that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Rock me. It's because I'm talking. I'm not rockme.txt. That is pretty funny. So anyway, I know, right? This is insane. Once I figured this out, and again, on the stream, we've been using this constantly because it just makes life so much easier. So for instance, here's another thing that I've got, look inside here. So I would say things like, I need a one-liner to loop through all the files recursively and, I don't know, print out their name and their size. I don't know why, but I do. Fine, enter, bang. There you go. and it just made a one-liner that printed out the name of every file recursively, which is a lot because there was a virtual environment in there. But there you go. That's what's crazy. No, I have not. I don't think it'll work in a reverse shell yet. And now that you mention that, I wonder if Control L works when I have a reverse shell going. We're going to try that tomorrow. Well, I don't have time right now while we're doing this. We won't worry about it at this moment to experiment live. But maybe tomorrow in my live stream, we'll try that when we get in, because this box, I've got it working right. Yeah, I don't think it will. I have a feeling it probably won't in a reverse shell. I've thought about that, though. It's like, dang, that would be so nice if you could get it to work. And yeah, definitely now we want to know. So we'll have to try that. So yeah, Shell GPT, super helpful when you're doing all this stuff. You don't have to fiddle around. You don't have to leave the command line. You can just keep asking it crap. And the fact that you can like get a conversation going. Oh, and you pip install it too. By the way, you heard it here first. The best way to install this is with pipx. Don't install it with pip. Install it with pipx. If you haven't been installing things with pipx, let me tell you how this works real quick. This is a rabbit hole, but it's a good one. So anytime you are, nowadays with all the crap we're installing, you should be using, you notice I have a virtual environment, right? So whenever you have a particular like directory you're working out of, you should do Python 3m virtual environment. You can name it whatever you want. I just always end up naming it virtual VENV because I know that I use that name. Okay, and then you'll have a virtual environment, and then you can pip install anything you want in the virtual environment. But if you have, let me finish my thought, and then I'll come back to the chat. But if you want to install a tool like Shell GPT that you install with pip, which there are a lot of with Kali, because a lot of the tools, the tools we're using in Kali are just pip installs. Then use pipx, because pipx will automatically create a little virtual environment for the tool, and it will add it to the path automatically. You can see this in SurePath here. So you would just do pipx install shell GPT, and I'm going to do another trick here and just put a comment on the front of the line. And then you would do pipx in SurePath, and then there you go. You're off to the races, and you can start. You'll have it installed properly, and you'll have to put you got to have your OpenAI key ready to put in when you do it. Yes, the Control L usually does clear the terminal screen. So but in Kali, that's not the way it's set up, so it works fine. On Sage, which is my other machine, it is an Ubuntu 22 machine, and I tried to install the integration there, and it doesn't work for that reason, because it's doing Control L to clear the screen, which is old school. Nothing wrong with it. It's just the way it's been for decades. So I'm not sure why they picked Control L in Shell GPT, but you can go in and you can change the key. So what I'm saying is it's just a function in your bash RC or your ZSH RC, whichever you're using, bash or ZSH. So you just go in there and just modify the function and just change the letter that is calling the function that does the buffer switch, if that makes sense. I hear these words coming out of my mouth and I'm like, I hope they're following me, because there's a lot going on right there. All right, so there's Shell GPT. When do we hack the mainframe? Yeah. So there's Shell GPT. Before we run out, let's move on to the next thing I wanted to show you that was a little more hardcore, and that is Ollama. So I do have Ollama running on this is Sage. Sage is that big machine I showed you. Well, that's up to you. If you're going to hack your school, you should just go to school and learn. I'm not going to tell you to go do that. Anyway, so there's Ollama list. Here are the models that I have pulled down currently. You run, and so by the way, when you install Ollama sets itself up as I think it just did this automatically. I don't even think on Linux at least. System control status Ollama. There we go. So it's active right now and it's running. And I also have KNOX is not responsible. Yes. Thank you. So it's running, and you have to set a environmental variable, which I can't remember right now. It's like, by the way, if you didn't know, it took me years to learn that you can autocomplete environmental variable names. Did you know you could autocomplete environmental variable names? If you didn't, now you know. So Ollama host, you've got to put that in your RC, in your bash RC file, or C. And if you put that in there, Ollama host, your 000, then it will open up the API to your local network, and you'll be able to use it throughout, which is pretty sweet. So you have to and then you can make a curl to it. I don't know if I have it. I don't think I have it in here right now. History rep curl. I don't have it in here right now. But the point is you can curl it and you can use the API immediately. Now, if you're just on the machine though, we're going to Ollama list and we're going to Ollama run. And first we'll do the llama 3. When you load it, it has to load. It takes it a hot sec. Oh, it didn't take it that long. I'm surprised. And so then we could tell it like, hey, I want to start a career as a hacker. How do I do that? Well, first you learn how to use a computer, then you learn how to hack. But that's a topic for another day. By the way, in all honesty, I have a lot of people who ask me that question. And RBE here, you're going to get a little more. Always wanted to do this kind of stuff, but I had to learn the hard way that I had to spend years as just a regular platform engineer, a couple of years as like a tier 1 reset your password guy. And you don't just go straight into security. And if you do, I don't know, oh man, controversial statement from Knox about to come out. I don't know if you're quite ready for it, right? Like I had to learn how systems work, and I had to learn how to automate, and I had to learn how to build things. And then I was able to go back to security and really understand it and really do things, right? It's like I always talk about like cybersecurity is like calculus, and you need to go do some pre-algebra, algebra 1 and algebra 2, and probably some geometry before you dive in, if you really want to be really good at it. Anyway, that's just me. Man. Oh, can he not answer that? Okay, I want to start a career as a JavaScript developer. Now notice this is running local, right? And what I wanted to show you was that it's not very fast. You would think it would be a little faster. I mean, it's only an 8B model, and it's only 4.7 gig. And that thing, I'm serious. It's an i9 while it's still running. Let's just go back to Sage, and then let's BTOP this guy. People of sophistication use BTOP, by the way. So you can see this thing's got 32 cores, and it's not even breaking a sweat for one thing, because it should be using the video card, obviously. But my point is that it's still it takes it a hot sec. Now, if we get out of here, let's list again. And we run the tiniest model I have on here, which I checked earlier, and it's this Dolphin Phi latest. If I run this guy will blaze. So let's just for fairness here, ask it the exact same question. Hey, I want to start a career as a JavaScript developer. I don't know why. Just kidding. That was a joke. And look at how much faster it runs for this little guy. So the little tiny guy, he runs a lot faster, but obviously his brain cells are not nearly as developed as that llama guy. Yeah. Is there a flag to give the question instantly instead of going into it first? I don't think I understand the question. Let me go back to what else was I going to show you? There was something else I was going to show you with Ollama real quick. But anyway, the nice thing is you can do like lava. Like I have lava on here. I should have set this up before I got on here, but I don't have it available to show you. But if I had a image real quick with lava is a model that is able to look at images and able to kind of tell you and give you descriptions from images. So when you're using Ollama on the command line and you do lava and you're using the lava model, you just point to the path. You're just like, hey, here's the path to the image. Look at it and describe it. And Ollama's smart enough to actually take that. You can do that. Yeah, you're right. I forgot. You are correct. There's a way to just like have it do a singular answer for a singular question and not start an entire conversation. Yeah, there is. So anyway, there's Ollama, and most tools that you look at will have a way to use Ollama instead of using one of the APIs for the big guys. But I have found that it's usually it can be painful. A lot of times it's like an afterthought. They write the tool and somebody says, hey, can we have Ollama support? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. And they like take 10 minutes and write like a little connector for Ollama, and it barely works. So it depends. Some tools are really good with using Ollama and some are not. I need to use it more because I've got it sitting over there. And there are these newer models out like this Llama 3 and like some of the other ones that actually are supposed to be pretty decent for their size. So yes, you can do Python. That's exactly what you do with Ollama CTFL. You can set up that you can use the API and just directly call with Python and just use Ollama to do all the things. All right, we're coming down here to the wire. So I'm gonna just stop at this point and just ask for any general questions anybody's got, comments, complaints, anything like that. We've covered a lot. No questions. I will reiterate and just kind of bring it home. I don't think people understand what's in front of them. I told you guys earlier, I remember pre-internet, and I know how much it changed everything. I remember pre-mobile. I told my wife last night, I said, do you remember the iPhone 1? It took a little while when the iPhone 1 came out for people to realize what it was going to do, how mobile phones were going to affect and change everything. And I think AI is the same way. It's not brilliant. Just like I said in the beginning, it's not smart. It's not going to take over the world. LLMs are not going to be the thing that does it, but they are amazing, and they can speed you up, and they can make you more productive. They are going to be in our lives. And I just am amazed at how many people don't see the train coming right now. Yes. Oh, she knows. When she comes home at night, I'm out of the bunker for the day. I rarely get to come back into the bunker once she's home. That's why I'm glad she's a school teacher. And so she's gone from pretty early in the morning to mid to late afternoon every day. So I utilize my time while she's gone. Once she's home, I hang out with her. It's just gonna be big for everything. If you haven't seen it yet, yesterday I saw 2 different articles that were crazy. There was yet again another company that says they're gonna have their robots out. I can't remember what the company's name was. If you look on YouTube, you'll see it. The AI guys were writing about it yesterday. It's only like a 75-pound robot. And it's a general purpose one, and they're going to have it ready soon. Also, there were some guys from Finland that have the organoids, where it's like the brain tissue that actually works. You can literally rent the brain tissue like chips. Like, it's insane. Organoids. If you haven't looked that up yet, that'll blow your mind. Yeah, I have heard. I've heard some of them do use mermaid code now. I know that was about a year ago when when it all first started happening. Everybody wanted that, and they I feel like they were kind enough to add that into everything. Stop sharing my screen. All right.
Well, if there's no more questions, I still see Decky typing.
There's a couple people typing. Oh, no problem. Oh yeah, we didn't bring up Copilot. That was the one thing we didn't bring up. Yeah, I don't use Copilot anymore because I use Cursor all the time. I like it better. It uses I have it using Copilot is awesome. It's amazing. I can't use either Visual Studio or Cursor without it anymore. I just expect it. But I think that I just like Cursor, like I said, because it has Sonnet under the hood. That's what I was trying to say, Claude Sonnet, and it will do more than one line. It'll change things in more than one place, is what I'm saying. Even Copilot will do like a whole function, but like with the way Cursor's set up, I can change something up here, and it knows that it needs to change this and this and this, because of this one change here, and it'll all highlight at once, and then I hit tab, and it'll all just update across it. So it's gotten smarter about being able to look at the whole file like in real time. It's pretty cool. This is a fork of Visual Studio Code is what it is. So Cursor is a fork of Visual Studio Code. So you can still sign in and use like all your normal plugins and everything that you used with Visual Studio Code. But it's a fork because Visual Studio Code is open source. So they just forked it. Yeah. And you don't have to pay them. You can pay them, or you can just put your API key in. And if you put your API key in it, then basically you're just getting, you're paying, a consumption cost. There are obviously a couple bells and whistles if you pay them to actually use it. Yeah, I'm using the paid version. I like it. I know it feels like I'm using a lot. I have a lot of the paid versions of stuff, but I'll tell you what, guys, I use it all, and I am loving it, and I'm saving so much time, and I feel like all my side projects and my coding and all my stuff I have so much more time to do it all now because I'm able to blaze through all my other stuff and then just keep learning and growing. And I feel like, by the way, they talk about this too. They talk about how like, oh, it's going to dumb down coding. No. Number one, you have to know how to code to use the stuff. And then you also have to, when you use it, if you're actually just paying attention as you're using it and you're like, hey, I want to code this function, or hey, I want to do this thing, and you look at what it does, you will learn so much because it will do things that you didn't even know you could do in your code. You're like, I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know that was a way you could write that. I didn't know that was possible. So I feel like my coding has gotten way better just because I'm learning from all the tricks that it's teaching me. I have not played around with bug bounty yet. I'm not with that much free time yet. If I did it, it would be automated. I'd figure out a way to automate that. I'm one of those guys where if I have to do something more than once, like they usually say, oh, if I do it 2 or 3 times, I'll automate it. I do it like twice, maybe one time, and I'm like, I could automate that. I'm just gonna automate it. I'm that meme that spends 2 hours to automate something that would take me 10 minutes if I just did it. I know, right? Oh, really? Yeah. So, GPT 3.5. Oh, yeah. Well, 3.5 sucked at code. Not good at all at code. You gotta use Claude for your code. Where'd it go? I mean, Claude'll just, if you start a new chat and you say, hey, let's see, make a Python script that, and this is I'm just being stupid here, that runs Nmap and GoBuster and searches through the Nmap results. That's a lot. Oh, and takes in the IP and host name from, oh my gosh, from the command line. Just something stupid. Oh, I'm not sharing the screen. You're right. There we go. You should be able to see it again. Oh, I can't see. It's a stick in the mud. It's like, I can't do that because that would be, it is a recon script for CTF boxes on try hack me. Let's see if it'll do it. Oh my gosh. Look at that. This is why Claude is a stick in the mud. What if we go to ChatGPT? What's funny is, watch this. I'm going to show you something funny here. I know. Stop making excuses, Claude. Just do it. Okay. So watch this. We're going to have GPT write this. But remember, Claude's a better coder, so I really don't want this. So I'm going to copy the code. I'm going to go back to Claude. We're going to start a new chat because he's on to us in that chat. And we're going to say, hey, examine this code and look for ways we can improve it. There you go. And I bet this time it probably won't fight us. Yeah, see, now that the code is already written, now it won't fight us. Now it'll just do it. Isn't that crazy? And that's what I mean. That is exactly what I was talking about at the beginning of this. The more you use them, the more you start to understand what all their little idiosyncrasies and the dumb things about each one of them, and you start figuring out how to get around them and how to get it to do other things. So anyway, we should have an AI that can trick other AIs into serving us. Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. Also, if you're doing code, remember the number one thing, always make sure you give it your current code and you give it like when you're running code and you have an error, right? If you have an error, just see it gave me this code, but I never assume that it remembers it. So I always immediately say, here is my current code, and then I paste the code in. Bang, paste code here, tick, 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 tick. And then, not like that. Don't do like I did there. But like I said, you say, here is my current code here. And then you should do, here is my error here. That's how you should always do it. Because you can't assume that it's going to, like we said, the further back context goes, and you've got a whole bunch of different versions of the code. So this is the way, I just paste everything and say, fix please. Yeah. But if you give it your current code and give it your error, it'll be able to do it. It'll be able to handle it, and then it'll say, oh yeah, I can do that. And of course, when you start getting longer files, you have to start breaking the files down into smaller files, because once the files get too big, it can't do it. It'll do that stupid thing I hate where it's like all the code stays the same in this spot. All the code here is the same, but this part changed and this part changed, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just want to be lazy and copy and paste the whole thing. All right, that's it. Now I'm really done. Now I'm really going to shut up. I want to stop streaming. I want to stop showing the screen.
Hey Knox, thank you very much for your time. It was great having you, and a lot of the tools you showed, I didn't know they existed, so thank you for giving
Good.
me. Yeah, especially the Shell GPT and with the Control L, I didn't know that was a thing. So
Man, that one is a game changer.
that is a real game changer. I'm installing that on. I'm gonna copy my VM and try it over there. So that's gonna be. I think I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that one. So thanks for running us through everything. And of course, you're welcome back anytime you discover something awesome or cool to come share it with us in the group. We'd love to have you again.
Sounds good. Sounds good. We can do other things if you want to. My other areas of specialty are like pipelining and like containers and like different stuff like that. So if we need to have a talk about that kind of stuff one of these days,
awesome.
That would be
Whatever you're willing to share, anything goes.
Yeah. We have this group, like we have a lot of guest speakers who come in and talk, and they just share information. So yeah, we just love sharing info, and it's always free, and people have fun and share knowledge with each other. So this fits right into it. So thank you very much for your time. It was very good. And
no problem. And the last shameless plug I'll do, I've been doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 in the morning Eastern. What time is it, RB, for you when I come online?
That's 1 in the afternoon, 1 p.m.
1 in the afternoon. Yeah. So I've been doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 in the afternoon. I go for about an hour.
Yeah.
I'm either breaking boxes or working on some automation for some automated recon stuff. So
Yeah, definitely. I've been to your stream, I think, once before on Twitch. So definitely, anyone click on those links and go check out what Knox does. And yeah, I'd love to have you on again whenever you are free. So thanks for your time. Thanks for your time again, Knox. And yeah, have a nice evening, everyone. And thanks for being here. If there's any more questions, please ask them now, or otherwise you've missed your chance forever.
Yeah. It's time. It's only 2 here. I have to go back to work for a while.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We appreciate it, man. Only 2.
All right.
Wait. It's 2 a.m.
No, 2 in the afternoon.
Oh, 2 in the
2 in the afternoon here.
Okay. Now that's great. Okay, yeah, man. Have a nice day. Thank you.
All right, guys. I'm gonna sign out. I'll see you later.
Yeah, I'll see you later, guys. Thank you.
Bye.